The mahogany walls of my father's study seemed to close in as he signed the final document with a flourish. The scratching of his Mont Blanc pen against paper felt like nails on a chalkboard. There, he said, sliding the trust fund transfer papers across his desk. It's done. All $2 million will go to Jennifer instead. My name is Emma Chen, and at 28, I was being written off by my family for the last time. My sister Jennifer stood by the window, trying to hide her triumphant smile as she watched our father disinherit me. Emma, my mother sighed from her perch on the leather armchair, if you just gone to law school like your sister, if you just applied yourself. I did apply myself, I said quietly, watching my father's expression darken. Just not to what you wanted. Playing with computers in your apartment isn't applying yourself, he snapped, standing up to tower over his desk. Your sister made partner at Thompson & Mitchell at 32. Meanwhile, you're what? Coding websites for small businesses, living in that tiny apartment in the city. I could have told them then. Could have explained that what they saw as playing with computers was actually the development of an AI-driven financial technology platform that was about to revolutionize global markets. Could have mentioned the Series B funding meeting I had next week with venture capitalists who'd already valued my company at $300 million. But I didn't. I learned long ago that my family only saw what they wanted to see. You're right, I said instead, standing up. I'm clearly a disappointment. Jennifer deserves the money more than I do. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably by the window. For a moment, I caught a glimpse of the sister I used to know, the one who'd shared ice cream with me after bad days at school, who'd helped me with my math homework before our parents' expectations had driven a wedge between us. Emma, she started, but I held up a hand. It's fine, Jen, really. Congratulations on making partner. You've earned this. As I walked toward the door, my mother called after me. Will you at least join us for dinner? Your father's reserved a table at Le Bernardin to celebrate Jennifer's promotion. I turned back one last time, taking in the scene. My father's disapproving frown, my mother's practiced worry, Jennifer's mix of triumph and guilt. The study walls were lined with law degrees and bar association awards. Not a single photo of me or my accomplishments in sight. I have a meeting, I said, but enjoy dinner. The drive back to the city gave me time to think. The trust fund had never been about the money. I had more than enough of my own now. It was about what it represented. My parents had set up identical trusts for Jennifer and me when we were born, meant to be released on our 33rd birthdays. But a clause allowed them to redirect the funds if they felt one of us was failing to live up to the family standards. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya, my CTO. VCs moved the meeting up to tomorrow. You ready? I smiled, thinking about the presentation we prepared. More than ready, I typed back. Time to change the game. When I reached my apartment, the tiny space my father had sneered at, I kicked off my heels and walked straight to my home office. The wall-mounted screens displayed real-time data from our AI system's latest test run. Numbers scrolled past, each one representing another successful prediction, another validation of what we built. The playing with computers my father dismissed had led to the creation of ATGNA, Adaptive Trading Heuristics and Enhanced Neural Analytics, an AI system that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy, processing millions of data points to identify patterns human traders could never spot. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Jennifer. I'm sorry about Dad, her text read. You know how he gets. The trust fund doesn't matter anyway, right? You're doing fine with your computer stuff. I stared at the message, noting how even Jennifer's attempt at kindness came with a subtle dismissal of my work. Thanks, Jen, I replied. Enjoy dinner. Turning back to my screens, I pulled up the pitch deck for tomorrow's EC meeting. The numbers were staggering. Our beta testing had shown ATGNA outperforming traditional trading algorithms by 312%. Major banks were already quietly reaching out, hoping to get early access to the technology. A soft chime announced an incoming video call from Maya. Her face appeared on one of the screens, her usual energy somewhat subdued. Hey, she said, how'd it go with the family? About as well as expected, I replied, running a hand through my hair. Dad signed over my trust fund to Jennifer. They're celebrating at Le Bernardin right now. Maya shook her head. Their loss. You ready to show those VCs tomorrow what real success looks like? I pulled up another screen showing ATHENA's latest test results. Actually, I've been thinking, what if we don't take the VC money? Maya's eyes widened. What? Emma, we're talking about a $50 million investment at a $300 million valuation. That's small thinking, I interrupted. Look at these numbers, Maya. We don't need VC funding. We could go public within a year, maintain complete control, and I smiled, thinking about my father's face at the IPO ceremony, really show them what playing with computers can accomplish. Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then a slow grin spread across her face. You want to build an empire. I want to build something that even my father can't dismiss, I corrected. Something that changes the way the entire financial world operates. Your father's a corporate lawyer, Maya pointed out. Wouldn't he have heard about ATHENA if it's as revolutionary as we think? I laughed. Maya, my father still uses a BlackBerry and thinks coding is something you learn at a community college. He hasn't heard about ATHENA because he's never bothered to ask what I actually do. His loss, Maya said firmly. So what's the play? Cancel the VC meeting? I shook my head, an idea forming. No, we use it. But instead of seeking investment, we pitch partnerships, get them to open doors to their network of financial institutions. We don't need their money, we need their connections. 6 months after being disinherited, I stood in our new office space in downtown Manhattan, watching our team of engineers work on ATHENA's final testing phase. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a perfect view of the financial district, the same institutions that would soon be revolutionized by our technology. Emma, Maya called from her workstation, you need to see this. I walked over, coffee in hand, to look at her screen. The latest simulation results were beyond even our most optimistic projections. Athena wasn't just predicting market movements, it was identifying market-moving events before they happened. Is this accurate? I asked, leaning closer to study the data. Maya nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. Triple verified. The AI spotted patterns in social media, news articles, and trading behavior that predicted the Morgan Stanley merger announcement 3 days before it happened. If this had been real trading instead of a simulation, we would have made billions, I finished. Have you shown this to the compliance team? That's the best part, she said, pulling up another screen. Everything's completely legal. Athena isn't using insider information. It's just better at connecting publicly available data points than any human could ever be. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Hey sis, haven't heard from you in months. Parents are worried. Dad says your phone number at the apartment is disconnected. I smiled slightly. Of course it was disconnected. We'd moved the entire operation to a $40 million office space 6 blocks from Wall Street, but my family still thought I was playing with computers in my tiny apartment. I'm fine, I texted back. Just busy with work. Another buzz. This time from our head of legal, David. SEC meeting confirmed for next week. They're interested in the compliance protocols. That was an understatement. When word had gotten out that we were developing something revolutionary in the fintech space, the SEC had practically begged for a meeting. They wanted to understand our technology before it hit the market. Smart of them, really. Ms. Chen. Our receptionist's voice came through the intercom. There's a Mr. Thompson here to see you. He says he's from Thompson and Mitchell. My heart skipped a beat. Thompson and Mitchell, Jennifer's law firm. One of the largest corporate law firms in the city. Send him in, I said, straightening my blazer. James Thompson himself walked through the door, senior partner and my sister's boss. He looked exactly like the kind of lawyer my father admired. Silver-haired, perfectly tailored suit, exuding old money confidence. Ms. Chen, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. I hope to forgive the intrusion. But when we heard rumors about what you're developing here. You heard rumors? I asked, gesturing for him to sit. From whom? He smiled diplomatically. Let's just say certain financial institutions are very interested in your technology. They're our clients and they asked us to explore potential relationships. Does my sister know you're here? His smile faltered slightly. Jennifer? No, this meeting is strictly confidential. Though I must admit, I was surprised to learn you were her sister. She's never mentioned that she has a sister who plays with computers. I finished for him. I imagine she hasn't mentioned me much at all. Maya appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. Emma, sorry to interrupt, but the Goldman Sachs team is here for their demo. Thompson's eyebrows shot up at the mention of Goldman Sachs. I could almost see him recalculating my worth in his head. Mr. Thompson, I said, standing, I apologize, but I have another meeting. If you'd like to discuss potential relationships, you can contact our legal team to schedule something. Of course, he said, rising quickly. But Ms. Chen, whatever Goldman is offering, we can match it. Thompson and Mitchell represents half the major financial institutions in the city. I walked into the door, feeling a strange satisfaction. It's not about the money, Mr. Thompson. It's about changing the game entirely. I'm sure you understand. After you left, Maya gave me a knowing look. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Maybe a little, I admitted. How long until he tells Jennifer about our little operation here? Given that your sister's firm represents billions in financial interests, I'd say about 5 minutes. Sure enough, my phone buzzed again. Emma, why didn't you tell me? Jim Thompson just came back from your office looking like he'd seen a ghost. What exactly are you working on? I put my phone away without responding. There would be time for family revelations later. Right now, we had a demonstration to prepare for. The Goldman Sachs team was already waiting in our conference room. 5 executives in expensive suits, trying not to look too eager. Their presence here was a coup. Getting Goldman as an early partner would open every door in the financial world. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, standing at the head of the table. What you're about to see will fundamentally change how the markets operate. But first, I need you all to sign these NDAs. The morning of our IPO, I stood in front of my mirror adjusting my suit. Chanel, not that my parents would recognize the difference. The Wall Street Journal sat on my desk, our company's impending public offering splashed across the front page. ATE and AI set to launch biggest tech IPO of the year. Expected valuation, $800 million. My phone had been buzzing nonstop for days. First Jennifer, then my mother. Finally, even my father had tried to reach out. I'd let their messages pile up, unanswered. They'd all be at the ceremony today anyway. The invitations had gone out weeks ago. Ready for this? Maya asked, appearing in my office doorway. She traded her usual tech company casual wear for a sharp business suit. Born ready, I replied, picking up my presentation folder. How's ATE&A performing this morning? Like a dream. The latest analysis shows her predicting market movements with 99.7% accuracy. The trading floor is buzzing. Everyone knows this is going to change everything. We made our way to the stock exchange where crowds had already gathered. Financial reporters lined the entrance, cameras flashing as we approached. I caught snippets of their commentary. Youngest female CEO to take a company public. Revolutionary AI trading technology. Already has contracts with major financial institutions. Inside, the exchange was electric with anticipation. Our team had gathered near the podium, along with representatives from every major bank and financial institution in the city. And there, in the front row, sat my family. My father's face was a study in conflicting emotions, pride warring with regret, confusion battling with awe. My mother kept dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. And Jennifer just stared at me like she was seeing her sister for the first time. Emma, my father stepped forward as I approached the podium. We had no idea. No, I said calmly, you didn't, because you never asked. Before he could respond, the exchange president called me to the stage. It was time to start the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet trading floor. 3 years ago, I started coding ATE&A in a tiny apartment. People called it playing with computers. They said I was wasting my potential. They couldn't see that I was building the future. My eyes met my father's as I continued. Today, ATE&A processes more financial data in a second than all of Wall Street could analyze in a month. She predicts market movements with near-perfect accuracy, all while operating within strict ethical and legal guidelines. But more importantly, she represents what's possible when you believe in your vision, even when no one else does. The ceremony proceeded according to tradition: speeches, handshakes, the ringing of the bell. But the real moment came when our stock price appeared on the big board. The room erupted in cheers as the numbers soared past our projected opening. By lunch, my personal stake in the company was worth over $300 million, more than 100 times the trust fund my father had signed away. After the ceremony, my family approached hesitantly. Jennifer spoke first. "Emma, I'm so sorry," she said, her lawyer's composure cracking. "All this time, when you tried to tell us about your work." "Save it," I said, but not unkindly. "You all saw what you wanted to see." My father cleared his throat. "Princess, about the trust fund." "Keep it," I interrupted. "Jennifer earned it, just like I earned this. Sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is believe you'll fail. It makes success that much sweeter." "But we're family," my mother protested. "We should have supported you." I looked around at my real family, Maya and our team, the people who believed in the vision when it was just lines of code in a tiny apartment. "You're right, we are family," I said. "Which is why you're all invited to dinner tonight. I've reserved the private room at Le Bernardin. I hear it's a good place to celebrate success." My father's face reddened at the reference to that dinner 6 months ago, but he managed a small smile. "We'd be honored." Later that evening, as my family marveled at our company's technology and success over expensive wine, I thought about the long road that had led here. The nights coding while they thought I was wasting time. The meetings they dismissed as playing with computers. The victory they tried to give to someone else. My phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "Stock closed at double our projected value. You're officially a billionaire." I smiled, watching my father try to explain to his country club friends how his disappointing daughter had built an empire right under his nose. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself right. "Emma," Jennifer said, pulling me aside, "I need to tell you something. After Jim Thompson came back from your office that day, I looked up everything I could find about ATG&A. I started buying stock in every company that showed interest in your technology. I believed in you, even if I didn't show it." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you make money?" She grinned. "Enough to pay back that trust fund 10 times over." "Good," I said, "because I'm going to need a lawyer I can trust for our next expansion phase. Someone who understands both technology and family." Her eyes widened. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than both of us. What do you say, sis? Ready to play with computers?" The next morning, as I walked into our office building, now officially the ATG&A Tower, I passed a young intern working on code in the lobby during her break. She reminded me of myself, back when everyone thought I was wasting time with computers. "Keep at it," I told her. "Sometimes the biggest success stories start in the smallest apartments." She looked up, recognition dawning in her eyes. "Ms. Chen, I read about how you built ATG&A. My parents think I'm crazy for choosing programming over law school. But you have a vision," I finished for her. "Hold on to that. And remember, the people who underestimate you today will be reading about you tomorrow." As I rode the elevator to my office, I thought about legacy. Not the kind my father had tried to force on me, but the kind you build yourself, one line of code at a time. Athena wasn't just changing the financial world, she was proving that success doesn't always look like people expect it to. And sometimes, the best inheritance isn't the one you're given. It's the one you create for yourself. My name is Amy Snyder, and I'm 27 years old. I reside with my father and mother. Our family has always stuck together as a trio since my early years. Growing up, I've always admired my dad. He's the epitome of hard work, running his own bustling business. Though his schedule keeps him away from home most of the time, whenever he finds a moment, he dedicates it to me. On his off days, he prioritizes spending time with me, proving himself to be an exceptional father. My mom, however, paints a different picture. As far back as I can recall, she has never been employed. While she tends to household matters, she's never lent support to my dad's business or pursued a career outside our home. Despite our comfortable lifestyle, with my mom often seen socializing and attending events, her lack of involvement in my life has left me feeling somewhat neglected. There were moments of profound loneliness, but my dad's unwavering presence always filled that void. He understood the indifference my mom held towards me and made it his mission to ensure I never felt neglected or alone. As I grew older, my mother's tendency to break promises became apparent. While my dad's commitments were steadfast, my mother's casual approach to promises left me disillusioned. I learned not to hold her pledges in high regard. Conversely, my dad's reliability and trustworthiness garnered my admiration. I even entertained thoughts of joining his company after graduating from university. Being the only child, I saw it as a way to honor my father's legacy and continue his work. Upon reaching my 20s, my father began imparting invaluable wisdom during our outings for drinks. Meanwhile, my mother's involvement in my life remained superficial. The only time she interjected was during my sophomore year of college when I expressed my desire to join my father's company. "Dad, I want to work at your company after graduation. I'm already preparing for it. I want to follow in your footsteps someday," I announced eagerly. "Amy, are you sure about that? A girl doesn't need to pursue such endeavors." My mother intervened, her words dripping with traditional expectations. "Why not? I want to work hard like Dad," I insisted. "A woman should find a good man and let her husband provide for her," she countered, echoing typical sentiments. Disheartened by her lack of understanding, I chose not to engage further. I refused to live a life tethered to someone else's ambitions, mirroring my mother's existence. I had always aspired to become an independent woman, determined to navigate through my college years on my own terms. After that pivotal moment, I dedicated myself to diligent study, paving the path to join my father's company immediately after graduation. Though my mother remained unconvinced, it seemed she eventually resigned herself to my decision. "If you choose to live this way, so be it. But remember, you'll bear the consequences of not heeding your mother's advice," she remarked resignedly. "If you're willing to accept that, then do as you please." So I followed her directive by stepping into my father's company, inadvertently widening the chasm between my mother and me. Conversely, my bond with my father deepened as we spent more time together. Reflecting on it now, I realized my mother wasn't pleased with the turn of events. Upon joining my father's company, he invested considerable effort in my training, which, unbeknownst to me, was driven by his declining health. It took him nearly half a year to acquaint me with the intricacies of the job before he collapsed at our workplace, swiftly whisked away to the hospital. Over the next 5 years, he valiantly battled his illness. "Emmy, how's the company faring without your dad?" my mother inquired, her concern veiled by skepticism. "It's challenging, but everyone's rallying behind me. Dad entrusted me with everything I need," I replied confidently. "Well, as long as that's the case, just ensure you don't leave the company to ruin as the second generation," she cautioned, her words tinged with apprehension. "You lack any genuine interest or affection for the company. You're merely preoccupied with others' perceptions," I retorted, disheartened by her lack of faith. During my father's illness, our disagreements were frequent. Despite his weakening state, he made sporadic visits to the company, emphasizing its significance. "These employees in this company are invaluable treasures to me, but I must relinquish my hold on them," he confessed, his voice laced with emotion. "Amy, I've witnessed your dedication over the years. I trust you to safeguard this place and everyone here. I don't know if I can emulate you, Dad, but I'll strive to uphold your legacy," I pledged solemnly. From that day forth, the mantle of leadership was bestowed upon me. With my father mostly confined to the hospital, my days were consumed with the company's affairs, leaving little time for homecomings. I prioritized visiting him regularly, carving out time amidst my busy schedule. My mother, on the other hand, fulfilled only the basic duties, such as delivering changes of clothes to him. Even that seemed to inconvenience her. I couldn't help but wonder about her feelings towards my father. Did she lack any sense of gratitude or compassion for his illness? The thought left me feeling sorry for him, recalling the sacrifices he made for me during my childhood, a time when my mother's affection remained elusive. Despite my exhaustion, I made a concerted effort to visit him as often as possible, a routine that persisted for about a year until he peacefully passed away in his sleep. Amidst the whirlwind of tasks that followed, I barely had a moment to grieve. My mother, oblivious to my emotional turmoil, expected me to handle everything from funeral arrangements to hospital paperwork. Realistically, I knew I couldn't rely on my mother, who had never ventured beyond the confines of our home. So I silently assumed responsibility for the myriad tasks. The day after the funeral, my mother broached the subject. "Amy, now that the funeral's over, you've settled down, haven't you?" she inquired. With a heavy heart, I accepted the reality of the situation. "Please leave this house. I've just inherited 200 million yen, so I have no use for you anymore." "Thank you," she declared, as though it were a mere formality. Her words stung, but I had anticipated them. Further discussion seemed futile. Did she truly believe that wealth could replace familial bonds and absolve her of responsibility? With a multitude of questions swirling in my mind, I made the decision to depart. The next day, I arranged for the sale of all belongings associated with me, leaving my mother utterly surprised at the speed of my departure. I had meticulously planned my departure, but I harbored a secret from my mother. Despite her claim of inheriting 200 million yen, my father had entrusted all financial matters to me, designating me as the sole inheritor. Not a single yen remained for my mother, a decision my father made adamantly while he was still in good health. Your mother lacks the understanding of money management or prudent spending. I want you to provide her with monthly household expenses, he instructed me. If she receives a lump sum, she's likely to squander it immediately. If she protests, refuse to give her a penny. Though my father's last words were spoken in jest, he handed me an SD card containing a video message addressed to my mother. While I never envisioned showing it to her, recent events suggested its necessity might arise sooner than later. After my departure, I anticipated my mother would reach out to me, but her summons came sooner than expected. Come home immediately, she demanded over the phone. I'm working, Mom. What's the matter? I replied, feeling a pang of annoyance. I just need to talk to you. Please come quickly, she insisted. With a sigh, I reluctantly headed back to our family home, clutching the SD card in my hand. As soon as my mother laid eyes on me, she launched into accusations. You absconded with all of your father's inheritance, didn't you? I knew something was amiss when you left so abruptly. Hand over your father's inheritance to me now, she demanded, her greed palpable. How selfish can you be? You can't even fulfill your duties as a mother, I retorted, my frustration simmering. In response, I silently extended the SD card to her. Confused, she inspected it. What's this? She queried. I suppose you don't even know how to watch this, I remarked, masking my disappointment. I retrieved my laptop, inserted the SD card, and played the video. On the screen, my father appeared, as vibrant as I remembered him. I couldn't help but wonder how my mother would react to this video letter. Silently, I exited the room, leaving her to watch it alone. I had never witnessed my mother defy my father before, but now, in the wake of his passing, would his words resonate with her? Upon returning to the room, I found my mother in tears, her emotions laid bare. I was taken aback, my mother, shedding tears over a video of my late father. I was intrigued by the contents of the video letter he had left for her, but hesitated to watch it myself. Consequently, I remained clueless about the cause of her tears. Mom, are you okay? I inquired, concern lacing my voice. Yes, I'll be fine. For now, I understand. I'll adhere to your father's wishes and entrust everything to you from now on. Please, go home for today. Call me once you've had time to gather yourself, she replied, her tone subdued. Sensing her desire for privacy, I left promptly, pondering over how my father had managed to silence my mother. Questions swirled in my mind as I made my way home. Nearly a month passed without any communication from my mother, prompting concern to gnaw at me. During my lunch break, I decided to pay a visit to my parents' house, hoping to check on her. However, she wasn't home. That evening, I returned once more, relieved to find the lights on. Sorry for dropping in unexpectedly. I came by this afternoon, but you weren't home, so I grew concerned. I explained upon seeing her. I'm sorry, I was out for my part-time job during the day, my mother explained upon my return. A part-time job? I echoed incredulously. My understanding of my mother painted her as someone vehemently opposed to work. How had it come to this? Didn't you watch that video? It was a video letter addressed to you. I retorted, baffled by her sudden change in behavior. You can take it home. You should watch it too, Hammy. Can I watch it? I asked, extending the SD card to her. Very well, she acquiesced, passing it back to me. Feeling a twinge of apprehension, I returned to the office and settled at my father's desk. With a deep breath, I played the video. Honey, if you're watching this, it means you've not been able to communicate with Amy. First of all, thank you so much for helping me raise Amy until now. Without you, I don't think I could have managed the company while bringing up Amy. My father's voice resonated through the room. As his words continued, a sense of unease crept over me. Then he uttered something unexpected, something that shook me to my core. You've taken care of Amy, even though she is not your child, and I have nothing but gratitude for you. You've stood by my side for so many years, but as a result, you've given up on your dreams and have reached your age without earning your own living. For that, I take responsibility because I have allowed you to live a life of luxury. I'm sure you'll be in trouble when I'm gone. I'm not my mother's child, I blurted out, the realization hitting me like a ton of bricks. But then it clicked. Despite the lack of overt affection, she had cared for me every day, doing the bare minimum for a child who wasn't her own. Who was this person? I didn't register our marriage because you told me you felt bad for your sister, so I ended up supporting your living and didn't do anything else. I'm sorry, but once I'm gone, I worry about the rest of your life. There's no one to support you, and I've taken your life away. I sat in disbelief as my father spoke, his words flowing with unexpected clarity. It was all news to me, his concerns, his regrets, his hopes for our future. Throughout the night, I grappled with the weight of his revelations before confronting my mother the following day. Mom, I watched the video from Dad yesterday. You know it all now, I began, my voice tinged with a mixture of confusion and realization. I raised you because I was asked to. That's all, she confessed, her tone heavy with the weight of untold truths. What happened to my biological mother? I pressed, seeking clarity amidst the swirling chaos of newfound information. You were the child of my sister and your father, she explained somberly. My sister died right after giving birth to you, and I promised your distressed father that I would help raise Amy. I would become your mother. With her revelation, everything fell into place, even the parts I had previously only imagined. I learned of my mother's sacrifice, how she had set aside her own dreams to fulfill her promise to my father. I recalled how my mother used to work in a diner, her vibrant spirit and dedication palpable. Her dream had been to own her own diner, yet when she chose to become my mother, she shelved that dream. However, inspired by my father's words and prompted by the memory of her deferred dream, my mother made a decision. She resolved to reclaim that dream, embarking on a journey to pursue it once more. Currently, she is undergoing training as a part-timer, determined to turn her dream of owning a diner into reality. I should have done this earlier. Working is fun and suits me. I had no idea, so it's my fault you didn't work. I'm really sorry for not knowing anything, my mother admitted, her tone filled with regret. It's not your fault, Amy. I made the decision myself. But I'm not good with children, so I couldn't handle you well. I'm the one who caused you trouble, she continued, taking responsibility for her actions. As we conversed, I realized it was the first time we had such an open dialogue. At this stage in my life, I finally felt like I had come to understand my mother a bit better. Our conversations became more frequent, leading us to a decision: to use the money left by my father to fund the opening of her shop. Once she started working, my mother became somewhat more humble. She hesitated when the topic of funds for the shop came up, a behavior that would have been unimaginable not too long ago. While maintaining my regular job, I also assisted with the opening of her diner. This brought me into frequent contact with my mother, fostering a newfound relationship between us. Regarding living expenses, she insisted on managing them with her own income, refusing to accept help from my father's inheritance. Promise me that you'll tell me if you're struggling. After all, Dad trusted me to take care of you, I urged her. I'll be fine living on my own. It doesn't cost that much. But in terms of my diner's expenses, she trailed off, her determination evident. I'll be relying on you. Of course, I'm looking forward to it too, so do your best, my mother encouraged, her eyes filled with hope and anticipation. After many years, we finally became a real family, and now we are living harmoniously. She isn't my birth mother, and perhaps it was just the right time for me to learn this truth. Your diner is finally going to open tomorrow. Your dream is coming true, I remarked, filled with pride as I watched her dedication. Seeing you work so hard at that company reminded me of my own dreams when I was younger. I believe that's why I've made it this far. It's all thanks to you and your father. Thank you so much, Mom. I expressed my gratitude, feeling a deep sense of appreciation. Promise me to always be my mom, Amy, she implored, her voice filled with sincerity. From now on, let's get along even better than before. After all, we only have each other, I replied, feeling a newfound sense of closeness. Upon my father's death, the truth was revealed, and I accepted the reality of our situation. Deciding to live on with just my mother and me, I contemplated moving back to my hometown and living together with her again. I don't cook, so my mother is concerned about my poor diet and is supportive of me coming back, I explained, feeling touched by her care. My father would probably be surprised that we're getting along so well. His house, company, and inheritance that he left behind. I'll protect them at all costs while continuing to get along with my mother in order to become a real family, I vowed, determined to honor my father's legacy. We visited the graves of my father and my biological mother, my mother's older sister, to give our daily life updates. After going through the process of adoption, I finally became registered as my mother's daughter, forging a bond that transcended bloodlines.